For anyone who does not know, the Beatles was an English band formed in the year 1960. The band is arguably the most successful band of its period. In this video, we're going to be taking a close look at the popular group and their journey to finding spiritual revitalization. What did the members of the famous group do when they decided they were spiritually exhausted? Why don't you stick around and find out? Popularity and success come with a downside that's not talked about enough. The members of the Beatles band experienced it firsthand. The success the Beatles gained was not handed to them. For their first 3 years as recording artists, they would make 2 albums, 2 singles featuring materials that were not on the album, all the while working on tours. Right in the middle of all that are the BBC sessions, various film and video shoots, EPs, and songwriting for other artists. While the pace slowed down slightly in 1966 and 1967, the band decided to focus their energy on something else. They just didn't know how to slow down. Soon, the power band started to feel restless and wanted for more, for something different. They were spiritually exhausted, searching their lives for the next big thing. The Beatles found their next big thing in Maharishi. Paul McCartney recalled in the Beatles Anthology that, "We tried for it not to go to our heads and we were doing quite well. We weren't getting too spaced out or big-headed, but I think generally there was a feeling of, yeah, well, it's great to be famous, it's great to be rich, but what it's all for?" The sentiments that Paul expressed were felt so strongly by everyone in the group that they decided to take steps to find answers. The journey to answers led them to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the leader of the Transcendental Meditation movement. By associating with the guru for spiritual help, they ended up paying a visit to Maharishi's ashram in Rishikesh, India in February 1968. The trip eventually turned out to become a major media event. The trip to India turned out to have a twofold impact on the members of the Beatles. First was the intended purpose of a spiritual awakening through meditation. The journey opened up the band's creative juices, resulting in the second impact of the group. During their visit, they reportedly wrote 48 songs. Most of the songs ended up on the White Album that was released later that year. The band intended to remain with the Maharishi for 3 months at the ashram, but the visit was cut short following the allegations of sexual misconduct against the Maharishi. According to Lennon in the Beatles Anthology, "We made a mistake there. We believe in meditation, but not the Maharishi and his scene. We thought he was something other than he was." Even though the trip to Maharishi's ashram in Rishikesh ended on a less than pleasant note, there is no denying that the trip had a tremendous effect on the Beatles. This was obvious in more than just the White Album. Paul Oliver, the author of Hinduism and the 1960s, wrote in his book, "The relationship between the Beatles and the Maharishi brought about an enormous interest in the West in Indian clothing, meditation, yoga, and the playing of the sitar." Although the Beatles had left Rishikesh with varying degrees of negative feelings towards the Maharishi, in later life they tended to feel more benign towards him and to say publicly what a positive effect he had on their lives. The entire journey of finding spiritual uplift in India started in February 1967 with Pattie Boyd. Married to George Harrison, Pattie was also searching for spirituality in her life when she came across an advertisement in a newspaper for transcendental meditation classes. As an answer to her prayers, Pattie was quick to put her name down to be a member of the spiritual regeneration movement. Liking what she saw, Pattie introduced her husband to the latest thing in her life that made her happy. Intrigued, George attended and became hooked as well. In August of the same year, the Harrisons and the rest of the Beatles attended a lecture given by the Maharishi in London. The group, alongside Mick Jagger and Marianne Faithfull, attended a 10-day conference of the spiritual regeneration movement held in Bangor, Wales. It was during the conference that the Beatles announced that they were giving up drugs. The death of their manager Brian Epstein cut their visit short. This prompted Maharishi to invite them to his ashram in Rishikesh. The ashram was open to only a few select guests. The selected few included the Beatles and their significant others, singer Donovan, actress Mia Farrow, and the Beach Boys' Mike Love. The Westerners in the ashram were Paul Horn, Prudence and John Farrow, Nancy Cook de Herrera, Tim Simcox, Jenny Boyd, Lewis Lapham, among others. The ashram itself was built in 1963 over a 14-acre piece of forest. The entire project was funded by a $100,000 donation from Doris Duke, the American heiress. Within the ashram were 6 long bungalows, a post office, a lecture theatre and a swimming pool. The entire experience, according to the Beatles, can be likened to a summer camp. The Maharishi himself had a more business and media-oriented mindset, much more than his followers could have imagined. For instance, Maharishi loved helicopters. According to Lapham, the guru would gaze at a chopper like a child looking at an enormous complicated toy. Of all the members of the Beatles, it was obvious that George Harrison and John Lennon were the most committed to the art of meditating. They could spend as long as 5 days in their rooms meditating. According to Bob Spitz's book, The Beatles, John and George were finally in their element at the ashram. They threw themselves totally into the Maharishi's teachings, were happy, relaxed, and above all, found a peace of mind that had been denied for them for so long. Harrison was quite open about the impact that Maharishi and meditation had on his life. "The meditation buzz is incredible," he told Paul Saltzman. "I get higher than I ever did with drugs. It's simple and it's my way of connecting with God." On the other end of the spectrum was Ringo. While he would readily admit that his time in India was fun and exciting, he was also having a difficult time adjusting to the food and his surroundings. Due to his allergies, he had to take with him several cans of Heinz baked beans. Several incidents made him wary of the trip. One of such is the food preparers offering him eggs, which were not allowed. Other issues he and his wife dealt with included the insects. You'd have to fight off the scorpions and tarantulas in a bath. Then you get out of the bath, get dry, and get out of the room because all the insects came back in. All of these issues, coupled with a bout of homesickness for their children, convinced the stars to leave 10 days later. At their heels were McCartney and his girlfriend Jane Asher. He felt that the seriousness of the Maharishi and the tediousness of meditation were reminiscent of school to him. Even India and meditation could not save John Lennon's marriage, which was already strained due to the presence of Yoko Ono in their lives. When going to India, Cynthia believed it to be a second honeymoon and a chance to reignite the romance with her husband. That thought died a quick death when she noticed that Lennon was increasingly cold towards her. He would leave the room early and barely spoke to her. About a week after they arrived in India, he announced that he was moving into a separate room to give him more space. She also found that he would constantly visit the post office to check if he had a letter from Ono. Lennon admitted that he was actually considering taking Ono on the trip, but couldn't quite work up the nerve to have Cynthia and Ono in the same place. What prompted Lennon and Harrison, the most dedicated members of the band, to leave the ashram is a mystery to this day. There has been no official and definitive account surrounding the allegations surrounding the Maharishi. There are, however, reports of sexual misconduct against the Maharishi towards a female follower. The instigator of the allegations was Magic Alex Mardas. Mardas said to the New York Times that he remembered looking through the window of the Maharishi's villa one night and saw the guru hugging a teacher. According to his statement, he wrote that the scene left him, Lennon and Harrison upset. Following the fallout, Lennon was the most vocal critic of Maharishi. He even wrote a song first titled Maharishi but was later changed to Sexy Sadie. Lennon saved all his ill feelings for the song. In the unreleased take of Sexy Sadie, he showed that he was not afraid to say the C word. Cynthia Lennon recalled that Lennon had expressed his disenchantment about the Maharishi to her. He stated that the yogi was too preoccupied with public recognition, celebrities, and money. While no lawsuit was filed against Maharishi, the seed of doubt was planted in the hearts of his followers. In the Beatles Anthology, Lennon described how he told the Maharishi they were leaving. "I said we're leaving. Why? Well, if you're so cosmic, you'll know why. And I just kept saying, you ought to know. And he gave me a look like, I'll kill you, you bastard." The ashram in Rishikesh was abandoned sometime in the 1970s and was left to rot for over 3 decades. In 2003, the local forestry department took over the site and opened as a site for tourist attractions. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the story of the Beatles guru. Do you think the Maharishi did something inappropriate? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. You should also like this video and subscribe to the Yellow Submarine for many more videos like this.